Michelle here in the Ginger's Kitchen. We are gonna make some cheddar biscuits. They're gonna be delicious. I'm gonna make some broccoli cheese soup for my next video, which I'm going to enjoy these biscuits with. So I have 2 cups of unbleached flour here, a tablespoon of baking powder. I have a half teaspoon of kosher salt, and I have a teaspoon of onion powder, 2 teaspoons of garlic powder. I'm just gonna whisk this together to get it well blended. Okay, and now I'm gonna take my very cold butter and put it in there. I actually had it in the freezer after I cut it up, not to freeze it, but to keep it really cold. You want your butter to stay cold. Your oven should be preheating at this point to 450 degrees, and you can also get out a baking sheet and line it with parchment paper. So I have my pastry knife here, and I am going to use it to push this butter in until it is broken up and blended with the flour. And it's gonna be kind of like little sand granules, but slightly larger, okay? So you wanna do that until you no longer see any large chunks of butter. But don't do this with your hands because it starts to melt the butter, and we don't want the butter to melt until we're baking it. I'm just gonna take my finger and get any little bits of butter out of my pastry knife if I need to. And that's a good indication that you're not done yet. If there's still butter sticking in between the tines of your pastry knife, then the butter chunks are too big still. If you don't have a pastry knife, I recommend getting a nice solid one. I used to have one that had thinner tines on it, and if the butter's really cold, it tends to bend them, and that kind of defeats the purpose of what you want to do. Okay, next I'm going to pour in my buttermilk, and I just want to get it mixed together. Okay, I'm not trying to knead this for 5 minutes. You don't want to do any of that. You want to just get it combined. Once this gets to the point where it's getting hard to do with a spoon, you can use your hands. Just be careful not to get that dough too warm. You want to keep it cold if you can. So I'm almost blended. What I'm gonna do is sprinkle in my 1.5 cups of finely shredded cheddar. And I like to use a good sharp cheddar. Another one that would be nice is maybe an English cheddar, like aged. Okay, at this point, I'm gonna go ahead and use my hands. Okay, so we're about there. I've got my cohesive dough ball, and what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna wipe down my counter really quick and dust it with flour. You're also gonna need a rolling pin. Okay, so I've got my rolling pin out. My surface is dusted. I'm gonna take my dough ball, set it out, and I'm gonna press it down. I wanna get a rectangle. Okay, so you can fold it a few times to get your rectangle shape, but that's what you're going for, is a rectangle. And you want it to end up to be about 1 inch thick. All right, so there's my rectangle. I'm gonna dust the top of it a little bit. Don't over dust it. You don't wanna add a whole bunch of flour. You just don't want your rolling pin to stick. So I just dust it a little bit. Okay, and we're gonna roll it until we have about 1 inch thick rectangle.
That's one boy puppy.
Just because that's what I feel like, no other particular reason. I'm gonna take my circles and put them out on my baking sheet. I'm gonna space them apart. You should be able to get about 12 biscuits. It depends on what size cutter you use. Okay, so now I have this dough left here, and it's not really left. I'm just gonna reshape as best I can another small rectangle, And I'll probably get 2 or 3 more biscuits out of this. And try and get your thickness to match up so you have that even cooking time. Okay, looks like I'll get 3. Okay, I got 16 biscuits out of this because I went a little thinner, and this is all I have left. So I'm gonna stick these in the oven. It's gonna be 12-ish minutes. You're gonna wanna keep an eye and start checking it at 10 minutes. They'll be a nice golden brown when you're ready to pull them, and we'll make our butter topping and brush it on. Biscuits look beautiful. I have 3 tablespoons of melted butter. I'm gonna add in a half a teaspoon of garlic powder and a tablespoon of parsley. Now I'm using dried parsley because that's what I happen to have on hand, but if you have fresh, use that because it'll be a little better. So I just want to stir this up. And I have my brush. We're just gonna paint it on while the biscuits are still hot. I'm just gonna move these over to a serving plate. And that's it. They look beautiful. They smell delicious. Let's just pop one. Oh, flaky. Look at that. Deliciousness. Oh, yeah. Absolutely delicious. These are going to be great with my broccoli cheddar soup, which will be the next video. Thanks for joining me here today in the Ginger's Kitchen. Is there something you'd like to learn how to make? Tell me what it is down below in the comments. Have a delicious day.
That's one bowl.